All right, we are live. I just love saying that. Hi, everybody. It's Victor Simmons. I think y'all know me, the HR and DEI strategist, founder, and principal consultant of Victorious Endeavors. I just love saying that as well. But also, don't get it twisted. I'm still looking for my next corporate opportunity, so I'm just going to put that out there. Um, so today's conversation is part of the Careers and Collaborations LinkedIn Live series hosted by the Institute for Diversity Certification, the IDC. And it's a space where we bring together bold voices and real talk about various topics. You guys like that? Real talk?
I
I
do.
like
We sure do.
I'm testing that out. It sounds like something I might be trying soon. So we'll see what I'm working up in the studio next. I'm thrilled to be co-hosting this session with my fantastic co-chair, Dr. Rhea Horton, and we are especially excited to welcome back. This is not a new guest, y'all. We're welcoming back Yasmeen Duncan, Chief People Officer and
Yes.
founder of the Sisterhood Society for Women of Color. So, Rhea, I'm gonna go to you first. You got anything new that's going on that you want to talk about, or just say a little bit about yourself and what's going on with you?
Yeah, thanks so much, Victor. Hi, everyone who's out there. Just to share, I am the not co-owner, owner and CEO of Career Bliss LLC, which is really focusing on two areas. One is supporting early career talent in the workplace and helping managers be Gen Z ready, as well as early career talent being workplace ready. And I also support individual women of color who are ready to advance in the workplace as well, but they're feeling like they're running into some type of blockade, something is holding them back. And so working with women in particular, wanting to overcome those challenges. And so if you're interested, that sounds like you, I would love to chat with you, and you're more than welcome to find me on LinkedIn. Send me a message.
Love it, love it. All right, and Yasmeen, it is so good to have you back, and I think you have some events going on. So before we get into these questions, you got to tell us
Yes.
what's going on with you. Bring us up to speed.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me back. I'm happy to be here. I've connected with some amazing, wonderful souls from the last engagement that
Cool.
I had. So, yes, I'm the CEO and founder of the Sisterhood Society for Women of Color. Our mission is to provide the tactical, psychological, and emotional resources to Black career women, very specific. This year for 2025, we decided to kick things up a notch, and we are having our first annual conference. We are so excited. Our conference is called Black Girl Joy. This year's theme is Build Your Table, and it's all about having a strategy for how you build your career and doing it well without burning out, and taking care of yourself. So we're super excited. We have 12 speakers for the event. We have main stage panels, followed by wellness workshops, and entrepreneurial workshops to give people the blueprint and the guide to set their career for the next steps, whether that's corporate or entrepreneurship. We also have a brunch event coming up in July, so stay tuned. You can follow us on LinkedIn, of course, and then we're on Instagram at HeySis underscore
Oh, I don't
society.
think I'm following that. I don't. I'll have to check that out as well. Is this now? I think I saw this on LinkedIn, but I don't recall. Is this a virtual event or a live event? Where's it being held? Where's it being held at? The conference.
Both, yeah, both of these events are in person. The conference is going to be held in New York
Okay.
City. So more to come on the
Ah,
location.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Very cool. All right. Okay. So we are talking about today work-life balance and self-care, which is what you talked about last year. That was one of the biggest responses that we got out of the whole series that we did. And so when Rhea and I started
Oh,
planning
wow.
the year, I told her, "Hey, we got to put this one back on the docket, because not only because of the engagement we got from that, but also because of let me just set up today's conversation first. And I know we hadn't talked about this part, but I'm sure you will handle it. Let's just talk about what's going on in the world right now. Chaos, right? There is chaos with the organizations trying to stay ahead of whatever is coming next from the current administration. There is chaos with trying to stay ahead of the economy and what it's going to do or not going to do. There is chaos with them dropping job eliminations are happening every day. I'm seeing another group. I just talked to a good friend of mine with a company I used to work for. They just sent out another several hundred people, and that just continues, right? And so there's a lot happening. The job market, chaos in the job market. So let's get into some of the tools and resources that can help folks. I have my notepad out. I'm taking notes, and so I want to be able to help our listeners. But let's first key in on. I want to talk about HR and DEI professionals trying to deal with a lot of what I talked about. So, how do HR DI professionals, how do they avoid the burnout? How do they do that while they're advocating for all of this change and the challenges that are happening today? There's this, I didn't even mention the chaos around those three scary letters of DEI, right? So, how do professionals, how do they avoid getting burnt out?
So I'll just kick off the conversation. We have to hold our boundaries. You know, we are in some scary times, for sure, and I know that people are concerned about their jobs for those who are still working, and you feel that pressure to say yes to all things and be all things to all people because you don't want to be on anyone's chopping block. But in order for us to do well, we have to be well, right? So that is making sure that we have our proper cutoffs for the work that we are doing. DEI work specifically because of the level of advocacy. That's
Yeah,
weight. It's heavy. This isn't just conversations at the table or with change makers or people of influence in the workplace. This is psychological weight that we're carrying as we're navigating, trying to push forward, why keeping certain things on the table, people, equality, the list goes on, why that's important. And so you have to have your boundaries of cutting off the work so that you can refill your cup. You also need to, I think, make sure that you maintain a source for that refilling, right? Like who are you going to? Who's filling you up? As HR professionals, as well as DEI professionals, we're pouring out all day, but who's pouring into us? How are we pouring into ourselves? Boundaries isn't just in saying no. Boundaries is also keeping space and maintaining space for wellness practices so that we can
yeah.
maintain. That is absolutely huge,
Yeah,
huge,
yeah,
huge.
yeah. I often tell my teams that that security or safety message on the airplane that you're supposed to put the oxygen mask on yourself before you place it on others. But I think HR specifically have a tendency to make sure everybody, do you got your mask? You got your, everybody's worrying about everybody else as opposed to putting it on themselves. So what does that look like? Drinking enough water, whatever it is, proper diet, exercise, walking, whatever it is that keeps you going. You need to make sure you're doing that. Put your oxygen mask on first before you're out there running, taking care of everybody else. Is what is a great advice. So thank you for that. Um, how about well, I guess this is sort of part of that is well-being resilience. What are some strategies for maintaining well-being and resilience while working in a high-stakes field like DEI? Any other things that you would want to offer to that?
Absolutely. I would say community is
Mm,
huge.
love that.
You know, with everything going on in the world, it's not about my group, my culture, your group, your culture. We're all on the outs here, right? So, how are we coming together to say, this is what I have in my lot, here's your lot? How can we commune and share? It's huge. Even for our conference plan, for Sisterhood Society, we have opened the gates. You know, the men are joining us as speakers as well as
Mm,
those from other groups and other cultures, because we are all sharing in of how we're building resource and strategy. It's huge to keep us in this time.
love it.
I'd say. And then also take off the cape.
Mm,
Now is the perfect time and season to encourage that cape, tighten up the cape of Superman and Superwoman. That's not serving anybody. I think how can you maintain burnout? How do you maintain in this time? It's being in tune with yourself to recognize when you are at internal capacity.
yeah.
And I'll use myself as an example. There are times that I was at capacity at work. It was the back-to-back meetings, the advocating really hard with the senior leader or with this CEO, or the list could go on and on. At 3:30, I'm at capacity for today. I don't have anything else to give. I need to recharge. So my coat goes on, my bag goes over the left shoulder, and we start again tomorrow. It's important to know when you're at capacity so that you're not working from depletion, but you find ways to work from a place of abundance and where you can maintain abundance internally.
Yeah. Yeah. All that is great. I really love about what you're saying about community and inviting others in, because I think that has been why we are in, to a certain extent, where we are, where because we weren't always inclusive of everyone. And I think that's where we started running into some animosity that was getting built up. So in an event like yours that you're doing, where you're inviting the guys in to be part of that, is a great conversation to be had. You're going to pick up both parties will pick up some good nuggets from each other, right? So love that. Love that.
Right.
Something that I want to add in here is when thinking about, you were talking about the importance of setting boundaries and, letting go of the cape and things like that. I think it's also helpful for people to think about, what are you also saying yes to? Not necessarily in terms of yes to additional responsibilities or experiences, but also like more of yes to, I'm going to treat myself well. Yes, I am going to, engage in something that fills my cup. Yes, I am going to move towards whatever activity that is cup filling, supports my own mental health and what it is that's important to me. I think people leaders, we pour out to support others because we care about. It's so helpful to know that it's okay to pour into us as or into to myself. So yes, there's what am I possibly going to say no to save boundaries, but also on the other end of that boundary is, what am I then going to say yes to that also fills me? Because I've experienced personally where I've set boundaries and said no to things because I knew that it was depleting me, but I wasn't saying yes to things that also was filling me up. So I think, having
Mm.
that perspective of knowing it's a no and yes, type of thing, I've found to be particularly helpful. And that leads me to the next question, which is talking a little more about practical tools that you might suggest, or resources even for, HR leaders, DEI leaders, to navigate the ambiguity. I'm sure that we all know, with a lot of change comes a lot of discomfort, angst. It causes a lot of stress. And sometimes it puts us on the defense as leaders to speak up for the organization or make sure that these groups are feeling okay and heard and so forth. And then there's another change and you're constantly moving and going. So just would love to hear any thoughts on, what are those best practices and tools that can help them best navigate how to take care of themselves throughout all of this continual change.
Absolutely. I love the additions that you add. That's so, so, so important, of what you say yes to. As far as practical tools, I think it's shifting the mindset. Like when we are tasked as DEI professionals or HR professionals, we're tasked with a problem to solve. We make a strategic plan and set goals, right? But given the climate and the challenges that we have, I don't think it's so much about setting goals that need to be hit 100%, and it's adjusting the mindset to focus on having progress and maintaining progress and the challenges and even further limited resources and or no budgets. The budgets that we did have, they took it. We don't have a budget,
Mhm.
right? So what can we do with what we have in our hands? How can we still cultivate and have movement, um, with shifting the mindsets of people, right? With moving the needle forward? It may not look like what it looked like when you entered the
Mhm.
role. And the state of the world is very much so impacting that, on top of all of the things that you're navigating in the workplace. So, transitioning the mindset from being focused on progress, not even like 100% completion of the goal, because you just have to be realistic. We're only in April. I can't even imagine how many more things are going to be cut by the time we get to fourth quarter or October. I would also say, prioritizing mental health over even physical health. I think both are important, um, but there is a level that we have to pour into ourselves and how we are maintaining, and whether that's having self-reflection time when we come home, quiet time, whether if you can't have it when you come home because of the kids and the partner and everything else, on the commute, like finding space and creating space that we can just breathe. Having breathing exercises is great. I didn't even know how important breathing was, and doing breathing exercises, I will tell you, until last year I started to do breathing and having reflecting time, adding that into my morning routines. I often ask people that I mentor or that are in my community, do you have a morning routine? Forget morning, just a morning routine. Do you have morning rituals? Like, in all that I need to be to sustain throughout the day, what all needs to happen for me to maintain a level of excellence and maintenance of myself to pour out all that I need to for the day? And it starts with your morning. Morning starts at 3:30, 4 o'clock. And I'm not advising people to do this. I just naturally am an early riser. But I take time. I have prayer time. I'm having, breathing time. I do stretching, all the things to prepare my mind for my day so that I can hit the targets I need to hit. And again, when I'm at capacity, I'm at capacity,
Mhm.
right? But we need to have our rituals in place, not only to start the day, but also how do we end the
Mhm.
day? How do we unwind from the day? How do we pour out the things that we took in and maybe took it in too much? It's kind of stirring with us. Who is our personal board of directors? Who's your internal community helping you maintain? Whether that's an advisor, a mentor, therapist, all these things are important. It's interesting when I talk about morning rituals. People are like, yeah, it takes time for me. I do my makeup and do my hair. That's not even nowhere in a ritual. We're talking about the internal and the mindset. Huge. So I think those things truly help us perform well in all the functions and hats that we need to wear, whether you are, um, a man, a woman, or whatever you choose to identify as. You need to have your rituals in place so that you can properly sustain.
Mhm. I love what you said about, especially about changing the mindset. I feel that's something that is starting to become a little bit more spoken about, of what that could potentially look like and so
Mm.
forth. I'm curious if you can share maybe a tip on how someone might be able to shift a mindset either within themselves or even maybe with others whom they work with.
I'm like a coworker or a direct report, like shifting their mindset. Oh, she
Oh, she's
paused.
frozen. I'm not. Oh, there you. We may have lost her.
Am I frozen?
Oh, I heard Dr. Rhea.
Okay, am I back?
Oh, yes, you're
Hey,
back. I
you know
hear you.
what? Since we got this little technical break here, Rhea, I got a quick question. Did we put it out on? It doesn't. I don't see it on LinkedIn. Did we go out on the?
I reposted it, but I don't see the actual live link. I sent you a message in the private chat actually about that.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. Yasmeen has a question for you. I'm going to hit this button. We might have some other people join this call. I don't know. We'll see. And then that'll be a whole new thing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to hit this button, see what happens. Go ahead, Yasmeen, with your question.
So were you saying like what are practical tips for like a direct report or a coworker?
I think, yeah, it could be a direct report. I'm just thinking about how, as a leader, helping maybe someone else shift their mindset can also be helpful to navigate the ambiguity of all the change that's happening. And so, curious about the tip for how, like, as the HR leader, for instance, that can be done. And then, is there a
Mm,
way that I can do that for my team?
absolutely. I like to do something called grounding moments. Um, I am kind of like the treasure box and the filter for everyone. So, like, who do I go to, right? But I participate in the advice that I give. You have to. And so, a grounding moment, for instance, if I have a direct report or someone in my team that is really struggling, frustrated with another coworker, a leader, a project, a process, we talk about that, reminding them the importance of the outcome, finding ways that I can offload or like what can I do to support you and not just from a strategy level, like what can I take on? Right. Because in my roles, I've had to function both high and low, low being in the trenches. So we do the work together. But the grounding moment after we get through that of the vent, the woosah, the solution is um, asking my team member, what is something that is like highly important to you and that you value and that you're working towards? Like in this moment, like what is something, and not in this moment but in this season, what is like the utmost important goal that you have? And for a few of my team members recently, they said, well, I want to finish my degree. I'm like almost done, I'm almost at the finish line. I'm like, okay, so how does this project and how is you working here? How does that support you in meeting that goal? Like, what are you learning? What attributes are you getting from your position? And even navigating this project that could support you meeting that goal and thereafter. And so we kind of dig in, right? And it's reestablishing value for what you're doing. And it's kind of to break it down further, I almost think of Karate Kid, wax on, wax off. He didn't understand why, like, what, why am I doing this? What's the point? But when he was finally in the ring in the final battle, he remembered those basic skills, right? In the most frustrating time and moments, um, as an HR leader, when you're trying to advocate for something that you know is important, you know is valuable, you've gone in every direction, you flipped your strategy side and center, and it's still not landing. It's like, what else do I need to do? Who do I need to be? Right? It's frustrating, but I can't get caught in the frustration. You know, as a person who is supporting and driving the organization at large and leaders of the organization to have a mindset shift, I have to have those skills to do that for myself. So I have my grounding moment. Why focusing and coming back to my why? Why am I doing this? If I can get advocacy for this, what does this mean? What tools can I add to my leadership belt as a leader? How does this add to my HR story? How can this impact me further for where I'm trying to go next? Can the tool that I'm getting in this challenge that I'm facing right now support me in my 5 to 9, which is my nonprofit organization? And what can I give the women and what can I teach and train and learn and share with them so that they can navigate with strategy? So when they come up against this struggle or challenge, they're not challenged like I am in this moment. It's important to have grounding moments where your why draws you back to what you're doing. And it's almost like a squeezing the lemon. You know, that juice that comes out is all the lessons, all the pruning that you're going to use go forward that's necessary.
Yeah.
Long-winded answer, but just the
No,
way.
that was great. And I even think that answered the next question that I was going to ask. So we could probably move along. But
All
love the
right.
idea of being grounded in your why.
Um,
Hmm.
Earlier at the top, I was talking about burnout, and now, how do you recognize when that's starting to creep in? How can you recognize when that's happening, either in themselves, or how can they recognize that's happening with their team members? How can they? What are the signs to be on the lookout for?
Absolutely. I would say, well, I'll answer two ways. I know when a leader is experiencing burnout when they're not as sharp as they usually
Mhm.
are. My background in school is studying human behavior serves me well. And my master's in counseling, like everything from like patterns of behavior to patterns of speech change. I'm very in tune with all that. So I'm very hyper self aware. So I'm hyper aware of other people when shifts happen. And sometimes it's the checking in, like, hey, is everything
Mhm.
okay? I know it's been like a lot lately, back to back projects. As the HR lead, I should be checking in, and then they may say, I'm okay, and or may not. Sometimes it's that pause. So if it's the pause, you got a second? What are you doing at 1 o'clock? Is that when you're free? Because that's my time to pour in, right? So for a leader, if they're not as sharp, um, if they seem kind of flustered, if they're in meetings forgetting their thoughts mid-sentence and it's happening often, it's a lot on the brain. If they're not on their usual schedule, leaders, especially at the top, you get in at a
Yeah.
certain time. Like me, I'm in office at 7:15. 7:15, doesn't matter where I work. I like being there early before everybody gets in uninterrupted time. I love it. I start coming in on a regular basis at 9:30. What's
Hmm.
going on? Right? As far as for a direct report, um, they're distracted in the work. You can assign work, ask if they understand, what do you understand from what I just explained about what needs to be done? They say they got it, but what they produce isn't clear. And when I think about communication, clear communication isn't on the listener, it's the person who's delivering the communication, right?
Yeah.
So you work with that person. But if they can't produce, if they're lacking in production or lacking in outcome, that's a clear indicator. Also, if they are not as sharp, um, yeah, those are things I would say. Oh, did we lose
We
Dr. Rhea?
did, but here I think I see her. Here she comes.
Okay.
Where she?
But yeah, I would say like if they're not as sharp. Mm-hmm.
All right, here she comes. Well, you got
Oh,
some
perfect.
you having some Wi-Fi. You having chaos with the Wi-Fi today.
Listen, but we not letting
Yeah.
her go. Yeah, so if they're not as,
I'm back.
I think if they're not as sharp, like the friends
Hopefully
say,
it's gonna be better
that's
now.
when you.
Sorry.
No worries.
All
All
right,
right. Okay, so you recognize it. So now you've recognized it in the leader. You recognize it, the leaders are recognizing that on their team. How do they get clear on what they actually need to feel restored and become, how do they get back to being whole?
absolutely. Well, before you can start the journey of wholeness, you need to truly be transparent with yourself and be clear on what the drought
Mm,
is, right? Like what the holes are. And I've had direct reports that are really going through some things, and they may confide and share with me confidentially. I'm such and such is happening in my home, with my child, my marriage. This is a tough season for me. I don't want to get into the details. Okay, so what do you need? What project needs to be? We all got projects, but every project isn't Mayday. A number of them are. What could be put off the plate? What comes off the plate? What gets moved over? What do I take on because I work high and low, right? Um, Maybe you don't come in at 9 o'clock. Maybe you come in at 11 for this
mm,
season because mornings are hard. You're having to co-parent when you never had to co-parent before because you're used to your family being in one house. Mornings are tough. Come in at 11. Who cares? Like I'm a leader that I believe get the work done.
yeah.
I'm not concerned about location. People have other thoughts. It's a different separate conversation. Get the work done, meet the deadlines. How can I support you? What needs to be shifted? Um, when you recognize that people aren't as sharp, whether direct report or leader, that's when you lead with empathy. I don't think that's when you lead with
Yeah.
accountability. I think accountability comes after leading with empathy, offering resources, adjustments, schedule changes, all the things, and the person is still not getting on board and we're slipping further and further, sure, that's a different conversation we need to have of like, I've offered measures of support, we're slipping, and then accountability comes. But we'll lead with empathy. It's not the resume that's doing the work, it's
Yeah.
humans. And in the state of the world, it's a shame not to lead with empathy.
Let me ask you something. I'm just curious, and I don't want any details, but you came with that example pretty quickly. So were you in a situation like that where someone came to you, said this was a season where it was going on where their marriage wasn't going well? Did someone say that to you without telling me? Yeah,
Oh
okay.
yes,
So here's the thing.
yeah, with several
Here's
throughout the years, I will say that's very common throughout the years. The kids, either something with the kids, the family. I've had even people having like a medical situation, like work while in the bathroom, and so it was between me and them, But what do I say? Do I come down on them? You
yeah,
support them.
yeah.
You have to.
Yeah,
Hmm.
what stuck out to me, it's sort of a side. This is a whole nother conversation for another day, because something like that, as personal as that, about going through something with a marriage, you have to lay down some foundation for someone to be able to even come to you and even say that to you. You're providing a safe space, and I'm just saying, I'm tipping my hat to
Hmm.
you that you're that type of a leader that has allowed for that to come, and
Hmm.
then to have the foresight also to say, look, you don't need to be in here at 9 o'clock. In fact, let's talk about 11. That might make more sense, because yeah, a lot of managers don't think that way, right? They just think vertically and like, black and white. So I just think that's wonderful to hear that. So thank you for that.
Hmm. No, absolutely. You know what? Just to add a comment to that, it's so interesting because I said that to leaders and they're like 11 o'clock. Okay, you expect me to believe the person's getting the work done? Let me tell you
Yeah.
something. When COVID came and it was the employer I was at the time, we knew that furloughs was going to happen. My team, the team members that I had at the time, their supermarkets were shutting down.
Yeah.
If you remember, markets were shutting down. Um, and they were running out of supplies. I had a mega supermarket in my neighborhood that was still open. And I want you to know that I packed up like a Yukon XL
Mm,
truck with toilet paper, hand towels, wipes, like all the necessities for my team, since they didn't have
yeah.
stores. And somebody would say, okay, that's well out the range. But let me tell you something. And whether you hold it high, you will get the same
Absolutely.
result, but without the well-being sacrificed, like driving someone to the wall and micromanaging them and them working in stress and fear and all the things, you're going to get the outcome of the work. But I can promise you, employees that know that their leader has their back, looks out for them, will keep confidentiality and support them, will go above and beyond the call of duty to support that leader and ensure that the work is done because of the leader that you have been and the times when they were in the valley. The result is the same. The work is still done to the level of excellence, but it's without the stress, the fear, the burnout. And I will say, I had 3 days to learn payroll for five, and I've never done payroll before ever in my HR
Mhm.
career. I was
Yeah.
overseer of it. I had 3 days to learn payroll for 550 employees in a unionized environment. And my HR manager at the time, who was one of the employees that I got all these supplies for, came to work for a month and a half and worked for free. She's supposed to be on furlough because she knew that I needed help to get this payroll process. And of course, I put her in a cab
Yeah.
home every day and got a breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I mean,
Yeah.
look, serious. But the fact remains, it was because of the leader that I was and leading with empathy.
Yeah.
It's important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Say that all the time. You're a servant leader. People will run through a brick wall for you. And bringing it back to,
Beyond.
you're not stressing people out when you're doing that, and you are keeping people whole. So wonderful.
Mhm. I would even go as far as to say that you may not even actually get the same results if you aren't serving the team that you lead in that way, because they might complete the job. Is it to their best? No, because they're stressed and thinking about
Mm,
something else. Is it done as quickly as they can? No, because they're stressed and their mind is stretched and all this other stuff. That's when you start seeing little mistakes and things like that that isn't typically usual. Now you're going back and forth just to get these little mistakes made. So it
mm,
still may not be done. So I agree with that leadership style, one that creates psychological safety so that one, your team can come to you and share what they need to, because they want to do good work as well. I think somewhere there's like a disconnect
mm,
where maybe executives or something like that feel like sometimes those who micromanage, let me say that, those who use a more micromanagement type of leadership style feel like they need to do that for various reasons, one of which is this is going to help them do better, be better, or whatever the case may be. But I think the person really wants to do good on their own. They're just experiencing life, because life, we know life will life all day long, and
mhm,
it's not always going to coincide with work. I know I had a pretty significant personal loss that happened a month after starting a new role, which also coincided with starting um, this first annual summit that we were doing, and I was running everything, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know how I'm going to run this summit but be here for my family, and I needed to go back home to Chicago and all this other stuff. My leader was like, stop, you're good. Your family is more important. This summit, it'll happen. It's fine. Like, and I was just like, are you sure? Are you sure?
mm,
And I kid you not, like, she literally meant it, and I let it go and she handled it.
mm,
And I came back in when I was ready and we were able to, execute and all of the other stuff. But as a good leader, she also pulled in other resources to help execute what needed to
Each.
happen to step up, and
Mm,
that helped as well, with everything moving forward. And so, like you said, because she did that for me, I had her back for the rest of my time in that organization.
mm,
I went over and beyond 100%
mm,
of the time, not because I wouldn't have already, but I made sure even more so, because I knew, she had my back, and she, was coming from a place of true care and concern and for my mental state and well-being. So I love the whole idea for leaders. Just if you create psychological safety, meet them where they are. I loved what you said about adjusting where
mm,
you can, and then the work will still get done. Like, calm down, it will get done. Because what happens if you keep pushing
mhm,
them and then they leave, they turn over? Somehow that work still gonna gotta get done. Like, it's going to get done. So you might as well retain that talent,
mm.
meet them where they are. So thank you for sharing that, and just being that reminder, and also encouragement to leaders to say, you can still lead with compassion during times like this.
Absolutely. Mhm.
All right,
So
I think
speaking,
we got one last.
Absolutely.
I think we got time for one last question.
yep, I was just about to say, speaking of
Okay.
compassion, thinking about passion in general. So, we tend to be a people, we have our passion projects. We're excited to get to working on certain things. So, with that, and thinking about what you said earlier about boundaries, I'm curious about your thoughts regarding how can you maintain having passion projects that aren't going to deplete your energy in some kind of way, or accidentally add so much more onto your plate that it can lead to burnout.
Great question. You need to manage your time, right? I will tell you, like, my 9 to 5 was my job. My 5 to 9 is my nonprofit, but there's many nights that my 5 to 9 was like really like 5 to 11, 12, because I'm in the thick of it. I'm like, I'm getting ideas, I'm like, oh, this would be so good. And then I'm on the phone or sending voice notes back and forth with members of my board. What do you think about this? What do you think about this? What do you think about this? We lead in programming. Programming is leading our organization. So our vice chair of programming initiatives and performance will always like ideate ideas. And she can be in the tunnel with me. So now I have a partner in the tunnel. And it was like, I remember there was one night we were supposed to have like, yeah, let's just quick check in for 15 minutes. 15 minutes turn into 6.5 hour call. And you need to, and I wasn't even tired because the other thing about your question is really interesting because you become, you're so ignited by your passion project that you are energized by it. You're not even realizing you're tapping on depletion. You're burning off of, barely any fuel because you're so ignited. But you have to turn that off. You have to manage your time. What days am I going to give to my 5 to 9? Who can I delegate to? Is this a sole business that you're in? Is this a board that you have? Do you have an advisory board? Do you have people you can ideate with? Friends who don't necessarily want to be a part of what you're doing, but is fine to support you in the ideation and creation of things. How do you manage your time? By delegating off what you can, if you can. And if you're not in a place to delegate off to anyone for free, then look at Fiverr. Do you need a virtual
Mm.
assistant, right? Um, what how do I delegate off so that I can still maintain and not deplete myself at the end of every day? Because once you finish the 9 to 5, you still need woosah time to come off of all of that. To immediately go into the next thing. Okay, but maybe not every day, right? Can you allocate your weekends? So your 9 to 5 day, you're not doing anything else. You got family time, kid time, partner time, whatever you got going on. Maybe the mornings, Saturday mornings or Sunday mornings, right? You're giving to get specific things done. Also, I would say from a implementation standpoint, um, focus activities is helpful. My focus can be all over the place, Lord knows. And I had a direct report that um, engaged me some for some up and gave me this tool that kind of changed my life. They call it Pomodoro sprints. I use it with the sand time, the hourglass. There you go, the sand time. What am I
Oh,
talking? I'm
Oh,
thinking about Wheel of Time on Amazon. But yeah, I
hmm.
have so many different hourglasses. I don't ask me how much time it is. I don't know. I don't track it on purpose. I just know that I
Hmm.
will write a list. Say if Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is my 5 to 9 day. On Sunday is my planning day always. So on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, on Sunday, I map out what are all the things I'm going to get done Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. What's my ultimate goal? For each of those tasks, turn on the hourglass. When that hourglass is done, I need to be done with the first task, the second one, the third one. But it keeps me on track to making sure that I get those things done. So maybe instead of stretching all the things I need to get done for my 5 to 9 between Monday through Friday. Because I well manage my time, I focused my mind and implemented focused strategies. What would have taken me 5 to 7 days, child, I got it done in 3. Now I got the
Hmm.
rest of the week, brunch, dinner dates, whatever I need to do, and what I need to do for my 5 to 9 is done.
I
Smarter, not
love
harder.
exactly. I love a good, time boxing. Once I figured out that hack for my personal life, I was like, oh, okay, I can do this. And then it allows the flexibility. I feel like I am able to get more done because I'm more strategic with my time. I know I'm brighter, sharper, for instance, in the morning. There is no need of me working on something serious late at night. Like it needs to be something very easy, for instance. So it's kind of like working with yourself, and time boxing can help you manage so you can be most effective to complete those passion projects.
I love that you said that. Like knowing when I'm most effective in the morning. I know it's like 8, 9 o'clock. I'm struggling through. It's like sometimes I'll say to myself, girl, hang it up. Let's get this in the morning after my whole ritual. 5:30, I'm ready to go. Yeah.
I remember the 5 to 9. No, the 9 to 5, 5 to 9 from last year, but I don't remember the hourglass. Were you doing that last year, or is that new?
Last year, I was implementing it off and on in the springtime, but I
Mm.
really buckled down around like May, June. But I have the hourglass. They're like all over my house. I would say, even when I'm cleaning. If I'm cleaning the living room, I got the big one. Get it done. Put on some music. The hourglass is going. I'm focused. It's great.
Okay, I might have to check that out. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that concludes our live for today. It was just, I knew we were going to have a whole, I said this last time, there was a bunch of gems being dropped, and I knew we would do that again. So thank you so much for that. Rhea, it's great to have you on the call
Thank
and your
you.
insight as well. Love it. We may have to do this again because I don't know what happened with the link that wasn't supposed to be there. I did see on LinkedIn someone saying they wanted to join, but I don't know how that happened. So if the recording, when I hit end stream and a recording shows up out there, I guess we're good. But if not, we're going to have to do this again, ladies.
Okay.
I love it. Listen, I'm here for it. This is
Maybe
really
we will
good.
do a Zoom. We'll put it on Zoom and we'll invite those that couldn't make it and have them get on a Zoom with us, and we'll do a Zoom call
Hmm.
next time. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, I'm going to say thank you and hit end stream so we can talk and giggle amongst ourselves. So, thanks everybody for listening, and stay tuned for our next one. What are we talking about, Nick? Do you know what it is, Rhea? Not to put you on the spot.
I think
We're
it's
gonna get.
regarding leadership.
We're gonna bring my friend Lori. Lori,
Mhm.
who is a DEI practitioner, said she would do this in May, and I don't remember what the topic is at the moment. Are you looking for it
I
before I hit end
am
this?
expanding leadership skills with Lori Ferguson, and I think we're
Ooh.
doing it the week of May 19th. So stay tuned, and we'll provide the additional details.
And we'll end on that.